welcome to our new feature called InHouse. No, that's not how we're going to do it.
I don't know, is that what we're calling it?
I think we are.
Oh,
It's in-house, isn't it? Yeah.
What, just in-house? Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Welcome to our new video series called InHouse, where we'll be looking at everything that is Saddleback, including staff bikes, new products, and also try and answer any questions that you might have about any of our products. So to start off with our new in-house series, we've got Mr. Tom Wheeler, who is from the marketing department at Saddleback, with his rather unique Merida bike. So yeah, Tom, just can you go over your bike, please?
Yeah, of course I can. I will do the very first bike check in-house.
You can do, thank you.
Let's do it. So this is my Merida e-bike. It's eONE-SIXTY. It's got suspension. No, sorry. It has got suspension. It's from the name you can tell it's got 160 mil of travel. It's got the Shimano motor and all that jazz. But that's kind of the standard boring stuff. The exciting stuff is how I ride it with a powerized arm. And as you can probably see, there's some pretty interesting bits on the handlebars. But yeah, just talk you through that really. So I've got a powerized arm. I had a crash in 2011, and then since then I've been coming up with solutions to ride my bike with my powerized arm.
Yeah, and you've actually got a company that called
Yes,
Trinity
that's correct.
Creates
Yeah. So I formed a company. Basically, I was doing it for kind of like on the side for a long time, just exploring different options and looking into like 3D printing. And I was really lucky to actually become really good friends with a guy called Dominic Egbier, and he works out of Cardiff University, and he's a really smart guy. I'm kind of the guy who comes up with the madness, and then he makes sure it's safe. So it's kind of, but to be fair, like the very first release mechanisms and a lot of what you see, I designed and prototyped myself. And yeah, Dom comes in, he's a surgical engineer. You know, he spends his days making skull inserts and stuff like this. So, yeah, but he's a mountain biker and he does silly things like me too. So it works really good.
So for people who don't know the history of Tom, obviously he's, humbly said he had a rather bad accident, but actually he was one of the up and coming UK downhill racers, and you just need to go online and find out what he's doing now with this brace. Like, it's insane. Like, he's hitting jumps that are bigger than people with two arms are doing. So fair play to him.
Yeah,
and,
it's been a pretty mad progression. Like, I spent my young years in the same category as like your Josh Bryceland, Sam Dales. These names which have gone on to do some pretty mental things on the world level. Yeah, they went chasing podiums and I went chasing, trying to ride with two arms again. But I think I've done pretty good and I've enjoyed the process. So yeah, as George said, I've actually got a video coming out pretty soon where I don't know how much I should share because nothing's gone out about it yet. No, I'm gonna give you a little exclusive.
It's our first episode. So
thanks. So Merida, really cool. I'm pretty friendly with John Woodhouse at Merida, and we got chatting about. I really like the idea of trying to jump the Vision Line at Revolution Bike Park, and he was like, "Yeah, let's do it. Let's do a project on it." So I did. So that'll be coming out pretty soon, and you'll get to. I've not really done a video on my riding for maybe about a year or so. So. Yeah, you get to see kind of the level I've got back to. It's it surprises me, so it's going to definitely surprise a lot of you guys.
Definitely. So going back to the bike then, so as you say, it's a fairly standard off the shelf bike.
Yep.
You've got Fox 38s on the front.
Yep.
And it's not a DPS at the back.
It's a DBX2.
A DBX2 at the back. So what about the more exciting bits then on the bars and what you've done to sort of, how you've combined or utilised Saddleback brands
for sure.
To make your rather eccentric busy cockpit work?
Yeah. So the Merida stock is pretty good, but I'm pretty fussy with my setup. Starting with the wheels actually, because I can't steer as much, I don't have as much input from my arms. I steer a lot from my hips and my feet, And I really noticed a difference when like moving the bike side to side and like switching movements. And the original wheels which were on it had quite wide rims. So being at Saddleback, one of the very first things I asked about was Chris King. And I'd never actually had the opportunity to ride Chris King before. It was like kind of the dream hub to use. So the amazing wheel builders now, Wheel Building Workshop, built me some wheels. So I've got Chris King hubs on there with some pretty thin rims. And yeah, I've really kind of screwed myself over because I can't run anything over on Chris King now. Like, it is amazing the way they pick up, the rolling speed. Like, everyone says how good they are, but until you actually ride a Chris King hub, like, it's awesome. And then, yeah, the guys over at Wolftooth, really cool. They've actually, they sponsor me with some parts now, so I've got some really cool support there. Like, Wolftooth, hands down, just, they're kind of me, but on a much larger scale. Like, the way I approach building an arm brace, they do to bike products, and the stuff they build is just stunning. So yeah, I've got the Resolve dropper post on there and the light action lever. Yeah. So that's really cool. And then
you had one of the first Resolve posts.
I did, yeah.
You've been running it for a while now.
Yeah, it's a awesome bit of kit. You know, as a lot of you probably are aware, I previously spent a lot of my time at Fox, and they obviously set the standard for droppers. But Wolftooth stepped it up even further, which is really cool from what is a reasonably small company and brand.
That's it. And you were saying before we came on that you chose the amount of drop based off your previous dropper post, but because of the low stack height of the new Resolve dropper post, actually you could probably go for a longer travel now.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah,
I probably want to swap out.
I've always run like 125mm post, and that's like kind of a sweet spot on, the height when I've got in this top position, because I actually run a large frame. And yeah, I was like, I'll just get a 125, and it's I could probably get away with running maybe like a 135 or something like that, because of the standover is so low, which is for me. I was riding bikes when drop post didn't exist. And, you did as well. And when you lowered your seat, you slammed your seat. It was like, I used to have marks on the underside of my seat post from where I'd like pushed it so hard down. And then if you actually look on the market, a lot of these dropper posts in their lowest position, it's still pretty high. Yeah. But Wolftooth really did go to town on making sure it was slammed. And I really appreciate that, because I like to move around on the bike a lot, and it's one of those things you don't think you notice, but you really do. Yeah. You really do. So yeah, that's a big well done on that. But yeah, the light action lever as well, it's mega busy on the one side of my handlebars. It's almost comedy. I've got my gears, I have my front and my rear brake there, I have my controls for my e-bike, I have my release mechanism, and I have my dropper lever. That's a busy setup. And yeah, the Wolftooth bar mounted lever fits like perfect, and it takes like little effort to use, which is really good, because one thing people don't realize is having that extra hook for your thumb. That's all that's holding me on. If I'm moving that away and I hit a bump and I shift forward, game over. So being able to just quickly actuate it and it not be like some other droppers is it's really good.
Yeah, it's very cool. And then you've also got the B-Rad system, haven't you?
I have, yeah. I'm a big fan of that, the modular B-Rad system. Able to like basically free up your frame to all different types of ways of storing bits on there. It's a wicked little bit of kit. I keep it on there all the times, but if I'm out filming, I'll take the bits off just because I don't need to carry it around. But yeah, my go-to, I usually put a tube in there. I've got the, I don't know what they're called, the tyre levers, the Wolftooth tyre levers, the magnetic ones.
The 8-bits.
The 8-bits, yeah. I always carry around with me, and a mixture of other little bits.
Yeah, it's a cool system, is it? So I think you've got the B-Rad 3 slot,
yeah, the biggest one, yeah, to
that's it. So the B-Rad is a plate that you bolt onto the bottle cage mounts, but then gives you rails to be able to apply different accessories that would bolt on with bottle cage bolts. So here Tom's got his bottle cage, but then lower down he's then got the B-Rad strap system, which is where he then puts his tools and inner tubes.
It's really good, you know, and it allows you to move your bottle cage around as well, and it's simple product but done like really well.
Yeah,
and I love that. It's like it's well thought out. I use it on my gravel bike as well, and yeah, it's wicked.
Absolutely. And then again, before we came on, you were talking about, and you sort of touched about it earlier, but how with you riding with your hips, you know, you've got Chris King hubs, but obviously, you know, being the Enve distributor, it's like, why haven't you got Enve on the bike? And you were saying it's purely because Enve rims are too wide, which a lot of people obviously really like, but for you like to have a bit more of a light bulb shape to your tyre, so you can lean it over easier.
It's something, you know, I've tried wider rims, and it's not that they're horrendous, but what I find, and a lot of people ask me, is like, how do you ride like you do?
Yeah.
And it's not one thing, it's all of the things. It's the arm brace doing certain thing, it's having the bar width a certain way, and even down to like tyre profile and rim width. All these little things allow me to do it. If you take one bit out, it gets very difficult. And that was just one of them. You know, I'd love the pickup and the rolling speed of an Enve rim, but for me, it's just they're just a bit wide.
Squares it off too much.
Yeah.
That's better. But you have got Enve bar and stem, so you are still representing.
Big time, yeah. No, like it's the best stuff, and yeah, if they ever decide they want to make a mountain bike rim fit enough, I'll just maybe straight on. But the interesting thing is, I actually started on like an M9 bar. With a 35mm diameter stem, and it felt pretty good, but what I found, I was getting quite a bit of fatigue on long runs because I ride the front end of my bike quite light, and obviously a lot of the shock's going through my one arm, and I do get a bit of sensation higher up. So I ended up going to a 31/8 clamp, and I went down to the M6 bars just to have more flex and just a bit more comfort while riding, and they feel awesome. So yeah.
Cool. Yeah, it just shows there is a difference between the different diameters and also the different models. So we've got the M9, M7, M6, M5s.
But like they've been bulletproof. I've had them on for months, and like they're really good bars. So but yeah, it was interesting actually. I tried all of them, and you could notice a difference in all of them. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Not just
It's not just a gimmick.
Not just a gimmick. They do it. It is cool.
And you can convince yourself that it's just all in your head, but it's not. You change bits, and you do that. There is a reason why these products exist. So
yeah, absolutely. I suppose we haven't really sort of talked about the setup of the bike. So with your disability, how do you run your suspension then on the bike?
Yeah, suspensions actually for a very long time, I guess you could say I was in like the comfort zone, and I wasn't doing anything too big. So I'd actually ride it pretty soft. But as I've started to like progress and ramp up the riding I'm doing, I've had to go a bit harder on the suspension. I ride it pretty fast. The rebound is reasonably quick. Just to be a bit more active, it just helps with movements. And then compression's reasonably open as well on the high and the low speed. It's there's no magic going on in there. It's just fine-tuned for what I like. I imagine other people would get on it and really struggle with it, but it works for me. So yeah,
absolutely. No, that's cool. And last but not least, with all the customization on it, you have chosen to use Siddy Techno 3 dials.
Like early on, when I had like my very first versions of the arm brace, I was literally using Velcro straps to attach myself to it. Like it was super tech. It was sketchy, but it did the trick. There was no consistency with it, and I could feel the difference if like my hand had shifted a couple of mil, because it would change the way in which you're steering. If you imagine if your hand was constantly moving up and forward, it changes the gap between you and the bike and all this stuff. So yeah, we moved on to a different system, and for a while we were using BOA, but they just kept breaking. And then being here, it's kind of like I was shooting city shoes all the time with these really good fasteners. What do they call it?
Techno 3,
Techno 3, yeah. So I was like, I wonder if they've got them as a spare. And they did. And so we adapted all the closures on the arm brace, and then the way in which I actually attach the brace to the hand tray. And it utilises the City Techno 3, and they've been faultless. They're a very good system.
Awesome. I think that's covered most stuff on the bike, hasn't it?
Mostly, yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah, well, if you'd like to, we could talk about how my release mechanism.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because but I guess the one thing that really stands out on the bike is what I call the hand tray, and that allows me to attach safely to the bike. And then on the left side, I have the pull pin, which actually attaches to a lanyard and a bungee clip. Bungee clip? What do you call it? It's not bungee clip, is it? Carabiner. It's a carabiner. What am I on about? A carabiner. So yeah, that's what I attach to. So when I come away from a bike, that gets pulled, and then it releases my other arm, which is obviously pretty vital to riding gnarly stuff and doing it safely. So it's pretty cool.
That's cool. I've also just noticed actually how crazy your brake setup is. So how do you have your brake set up with the one arm then?
So I run my rear lever as my top lever, which is standard, and then the front lever is the one below it. And then we actually design and we manufacture our own, what we call the bar adapt. Okay. And it allows you to offset the levers so you can get it in the perfect position. And then, and like I run, I'm actually going to be moving over to full Magura pretty soon just because they're the best for overlaying. And the other little thing I do is I usually put a little bit of grip tape on my lever blade just for a different feel. So
awesome. Yeah,
it's pretty full on. But what is interesting, a lot of people have actually jumped on my bike and they've had a little spin on it, and they say, it's quite natural. Like it all makes sense as soon as you like kind of put your fingers on it. So
I suppose ultimately it needs to be well balanced as well. Yeah. Given. That's awesome. I think it's a pretty cool bike to start off the staff rides.
Well, I hope so. It's pretty unique.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely the most unique ones in the office, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't think there's going to be many other staff rides like that. For saying that, Chris is pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's true. So. Yeah, we'll get that at some point, definitely.
But yeah, man.
Wicked. All right, Tom. Well, thanks for showing us your
staff rides. Thanks for letting me show you.
Awesome.
Got any questions? Whack them in the comments.
Cheers.
You got one of them? Are we having one of these? Or?